Have you been feeling the weight of the world, feeling as though it's sitting heavy on your shoulders and tugging on your spirit? At the moment, there is a very real battle for your consciousness. And this message isn't for everybody, but I've set the intention that it's going to meet the people that it's supposed to meet. I'm very much about alignment. I'm very much about resonant energies. So I'm trusting that as this message begins, that you're figuring out whether it's for you or not, and sending love if you're scrolling and moving away and deciding that it's not for you. And if you're still here, I'll give you a minute just to arrive in the message. So the world is feeling heavy at the moment. It's feeling very intense and it's palpable. I'm sure you can feel it too. If you're here, then you're probably agreeing with me. And it's like there's a battle between the dark and the light. And I don't like to speak about it in such intense terms, but that's the truth of it, really. There's a war going on, and it's a war of consciousness. And at the moment, those darker, heavier energies are doing a really good job of oppressing so many of us. We're feeling the weight of it sitting on our spirit, really weighing us down like a burden. And you know that it feels heavy, and you know that it feels uncomfortable and inescapable, and you might not know what to do with it or how to move away from it. But this isn't just a you thing. This message is a reminder that this is a collective thing, and many of us are moving through these energies at the moment. So if anything, I hope that in you finding this on your timeline, it's coming to you for a reason. Just as that reminder that you're not going through this alone. We're in this together. And with social media, the news, the press, all these things that we're consuming, because we've got these devices, and I know I'm always talking about it, but it's the greatest weapon in the war for our consciousness at the moment. And in many ways, social media is a wonderful thing because it helps us feel more connected than ever before. It helps us realise that we're not so alone. It helps us look out at the world stage, at the injustice, and find a unified voice to say that what is going on is not okay. But by the same token, we have to be really conscious. Excuse me. I'm not feeling at my best at the moment. And I suppose much of this message is coming because I've allowed my own energy field to be oppressed by the weight of some of what's going on in the world, and not just in the world, in my own personal experience. So I'm seeing this message as a frequency forecast that is going to meet you if you're the right person for it. Just as that reminder that we're in this together. My hope in sitting down and doing these videos is that I'm going to find this collective of people that is on the same mission, that is recognizing that there's a heaviness, but also has got that deep knowing within that lets you know that there's something more. And there is something more, but we have to be super conscious about connecting to it. We have to be taking radical self-responsibility as we move through our days. And this isn't about bypassing. It's not about ignoring the heaviness. It's not about acting as though it's all sweetness in light. Like, one thing about me and my work and what I bring to the work that I do is that life is tough. Hard things do happen. We're not glossing over it. You know, I haven't come from this super privileged life of, you know, nothing really happening. I've faced some of life's most difficult challenges, and it's how do we still connect to the light within in the face of those challenges? How do we move through what feels like treacle at times, when it feels like there's no hope, when it feels like we're drowning in an ocean of darkness? How do we still keep focused on the lighthouse and make that progress to keep moving towards it? Because it's true, life is tough and rubbish does happen, and so much of it is outside of our control. And the one thing that we can do though, and I'm not saying it's easy, and like I said, I'm not coming at it from this privileged position of just like, oh, just, you know, look for the positives in everything, because we're acknowledging the dark. We're looking at the dark for what it is, and we're seeing what we can learn from it. And I think what this message is wanting to remind you of is that within the darkness there is hope. And when it feels like so much is outside of our control, there are small things that we can do to bring ourselves back to our light and to grow our light and to connect to our light. And I think sometimes we have to sit in the discomfort of the darkness, because it can bring with it lessons, you know, things that we can learn in the discomfort that can help to then empower us. So I've been going through a challenging time myself, and in it, what it's taught me is that even when it feels like I'm powerless, there are small things that I can do within my day to help me to raise my frequency and raise my vibration. And if that's one thing that you do when you wake up on a daily basis, is think about ways that you can, even if it's only 10%, find ways that you can increase your vibration by 10%. So whether that's finding the opportunities to get out in nature, and I'm acknowledging as well, as someone with a disability, I've got a spinal cord injury. You know, I deal with chronic pain, with fibromyalgia, as well as my spinal cord injury. So it's not always as easy as, oh, just get out and go for a walk, you know, if you're dealing with chronic pain. But it's finding the ways that you can connect in whatever way you can. And in the earlier days of my injury, even just pulling up next to the window seat, as I am here now as I record this video, and looking at the trees outside and connecting to the trees. Or if you do have the capacity and the ability to get out, oh, there's a bird, like confirmation of nature and the power of nature. It just flew right by the window. Is to find those moments where you can, even if you're on your commute, even if you're getting out to work, if you've got the capacity to take a slightly different route or do something slightly different to what you would usually do, that takes you a little bit deeper into nature, or just carve out those moments where you can get outside. You know, if you're in the office and you have a lunch break, instead of just sitting at your desk and eating. And I know in the UK we're coming into autumn, well, we're in autumn, heading into winter, but is there a way that you can wrap up warm and just go outside and take a breath and just be conscious with it? As you step outside, just close your eyes for a minute and breathe in the air. Find something from the natural world and intentionally connect to it. If there's a tree, can you go and just stand underneath the tree? Can you put your hands on the tree and just invite the tree to bring healing to you, and give thanks to the tree for what it does, how it purifies our air, how it brings us into connection into the natural world, especially for those of us that are in built up cities. And also other ways that you can help to support your own vibration is in doing conscious cleansing. So when you're having your bath or having your shower, use it as a ritual, use it as an opportunity to connect with the spirit of the water, and ask for that, ask for it to support you in its cleansing and healing. Use salts and oils, like natural oils, things from the earth, and try and incorporate those things into your days, just to bring you back into connection. In what you're eating and what you're drinking, through your hydration, it's like limiting those artificial aspects of what we're consuming as much as we can to support our bodies, to support our frequency. Picking high vibrational foods. So when you go into the supermarket and you're thinking about what you want for dinner, it's like connecting to what it is that you want to eat and thinking about how that's going to improve or deteriorate your vibration, or diminish is probably a better word. So it's like when you go to the fruit and veg section, just notice how you can feel that upliftment in the produce compared to maybe the packaged food sections, which can just feel energetically a little bit dead. Also, it's being mindful about what we're consuming on social media. But even if you've got the most positive feeds, and even if you're really conscious about the feeds that you've curated, is thinking about how much time you're spending on there and how much time you're consuming. I think it's more important than ever now to be carving out these pockets of time where we're just sitting with ourselves. And sometimes it can be scary if you've been in autopilot, or if you're in this process of constantly keeping yourself busy, because maybe in the stillness there's this sense of discomfort from these things that we're looking away from. But how can we be carving out, I'm not asking you to go and sit in 30 minutes of silent meditation with your legs crossed on a pillow. If you're not used to doing that, that can be, anxiety inducing in its own. So if you're used to no stillness, how can you carve out 90 seconds to just sit and focus on your breath? And if you're used to sitting down for longer than that, how can you extend that? How can you bring the focus into your breathing? How can you just bring mindfulness into the breath? How can you invite your body to relax? How can you invite your spirit to open up to more light? It's just finding the ways that we can be intentional and disconnect from the autopilot that so many of us find ourselves in. Because when we do things a little bit different, then we invite in new possibilities. Because it's so easy to get stuck in these patterns, these autopilot patterns, without questioning it. So maybe if you walk out the door and you're used to turning left, what happens if you turn right? If you usually get the train, what if you jump on the bus? What if you walk that extra bit further? What if you try a different coffee shop? Yeah, just inviting in these new possibilities and different ways that we can find things that help us to connect to our light. What if you walk out the door and turn right and just see the different bits of nature that you can connect to that you don't usually notice? Or if you can sit in your window and your mobility is limited, just look out and see what you can see. Birds, trees, plants. Yeah. Find different ways to connect to the natural world that will help you to support your spirit. And as you're going about your day, when you wake up in the morning, have a moment to just catch your breath. As you get out of your bed, if you're able to, if your feet are able to connect to the floor, just visualize those roots growing down and let yourself ground. And try not to pick up your phone as soon as you're waking up, because you're effectively, I don't want to say poisoning, but it's a really potent time in the morning when you wake up to this new energetic possibility. And so many of us so automatically go straight to the phone, straight onto Instagram, straight into the news, or whatever your poison is. And then we start flooding our brains with the agendas of those that are creating these algorithms. And the algorithm is a dangerous thing, especially if you've got the microphone switched on your phones. I had a situation recently. I had a little bit of a confrontation with somebody close to me. And in that confrontation, some things were said. And it's so interesting how the algorithm then starts throwing up things to support certain narratives. And if you haven't got your wits about you, you'll start buying into it. In fact, there's people I know that I've grown up with, that I'm seeing them on social media lately. And bearing in mind, we used to be friends. We're from Birmingham, a very diverse city. And you can see what their algorithm's feeding them. The anti-immigrant rhetoric, the all this flag business, posting up these flags. And now the stuff that they're posting, it's like they've been brainwashed by this narrative. And I'm not saying that it's not a problem for some people, and that, for whatever reason, their sense of safety and well-being is being impacted by what they believe is the root of this issue. And they're blaming the immigrants, but actually the issues are so much deeper than that. But if you follow the algorithms, then they'll make you believe whatever it is. And the more you feed it, the more you get fed it. And, We'll be in these different sections of society being fed these narratives, and the more you consume, the more you consume, the more you're getting sucked in, the more it's taking you away from yourself, from your truth, and what really, what really matters. So, how can we find ourselves in the midst of this madness? How can we not allow ourselves to be sucked into these spirals of darkness? How can we be more aware of when we're being pulled in? So wake up, resist the pull to technology. And I'm talking to myself as well. I'm not sitting here as some, on some, yeah, I've got this all nailed. I haven't. I'm working on it, Some days are better than others. So this is a collective reminder. And don't forget, when you're grounding in, to call in for your spirit support, whoever it is that you look to, whether you're talking to God, the divine source creator, the great architect of this incredible life, the source of the energy that of all there is, whether you're speaking to your ancestors, your guides, guardians, angels, archangels, don't forget to call on their support. So just wake up and invoke their blessings, their healing, their protection as you go throughout your day. And another thing that you can do is visualize yourself in this ball of light, bright white light that just surrounds you like a bubble. So anytime you've got to go out and leave your house, you might be interfacing with all these different energies, especially if you're sensitive, especially if you're empathetic, especially if you're a highly sensitive person. You go out and you feel everything. Put yourself in a bubble of light every time you're going out, just to give yourself that extra protection. Because these are wild times, and we've just got to be doing what we can to keep ourselves energetically protected and within our light. So yeah, it's just a bit of a ramble, but I'm sending you so much love wherever you are, whatever you're going through. Everything's going to be okay. I know it might not feel like it. I know it might feel impossibly heavy and particularly difficult. But let's support each other. Let this be the beginning of our community. Let me know how you're doing in the comments. I would love to know. And you don't have to go in and be, oh yeah, I'm all good, because there's a lot of people out there struggling, and maybe no one's checked in with you today to see how you are. So this is me checking in. How are you? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you're struggling with. And if you don't want to post it in the public forum, find me on Instagram and slide into my DMs. We've got to look after each other in these times. You can find me on Instagram at Zoe Ellen Fox. Drop me a DM and I'll get back to you. We're going to be okay. But don't be afraid to look for community, look for support, because as we come together as community and we anchor into our light, the darkness hasn't got a chance. Think about it. If you've got a pitch black room and you shine in just a pin light, a tiny little torch, the darkness recedes. So let's come together in community. Let's support one another. Let's be here for one another. Let me know what you're struggling with. And let me know what techniques you have that help you connect to your light. I'm sending you so much love, my friend. And if you're here and you're aligned with this vibe, I consider you my friend. Sending you love, peace, protection as you walk through this week or roll through this week. Sending love. Let's catch you next week.